Let's talk about Speaker Ryan's comments and where you think things are going with health care and tax reform. When you were last with us, we were really focused on those two subjects. Where do you think we're headed, and what's the timetable for these two initiatives?
I think it depends entirely, David, on how quickly the House can get the health care debate restarted. Obviously, they had some discussions this week that evidently the Vice President was involved with. They didn't lead to a result, but it sounds like perhaps they are getting closer. I think ultimately, in order for health care to proceed, the House is going to have to figure out what they want to do with it, how to get to 216 over there, and then obviously we'll process it when they send it to us. The health care debate is important for many reasons, but one of which is also it sets up tax reform. We wanted to do health care reform first because it frees up about $1 trillion in the baseline to do tax reform. And tax reform, as Speaker Ryan pointed out, is not going to be easy. But I do think there is a huge incentive for us in terms of getting growth back into the economy to reform the tax code and to try and get that rate down from, the House proposal gets it down from 35 to 20, which would be huge. So, we're very committed to doing it, but what order it comes in, I think, remains to be seen.
Can you get through health care without the Democrats?
That's the question. And I think really right now it's going to be a function of whether or not to get to 216 in the House they have to go get Democrats, or whether they can make peace between the moderates in the House and the conservatives in the House. Then, of course, over here in the Senate, if they use the reconciliation vehicle, it can be a Republican-only exercise. I'm always a fan of doing it in a bipartisan way. If we could figure out a way to get 60 votes in the Senate, that's the best outcome.
Well, talking about 60 votes, we now have Neil Gorsuch up there right now. This filibuster going on right now. Is the nuclear option going to be invoked tomorrow?
Well, actually, I think we'll end up having a series of votes today, procedural votes, that will enable us to get to an up and down vote on Judge Gorsuch sometime tomorrow. We think that's the way it should be, and we wish we didn't have a Democrat filibuster to deal with in the Senate. But as of today, sometime later today, I think we'll be through that and on our way, hopefully, to his confirmation at some point tomorrow.
But will that be taken as such an affront to the Democrats that it really makes it more difficult to get any of them to go along with health care or with tax reform?
I think it's really kind of baked in. I think they expected that. They announced last fall, many of them did publicly, that if Hillary Clinton won the presidency, they were going to exercise this option on the Supreme Court, and they sort of set it up 3 years ago in 2013 by moving the threshold to 51 for appellate and lower court and executive branch nominees. And so I think everybody sort of knew this day was coming, and I think everybody's anxious to move on and to deal with legislation. We've got a lot to do on our agenda.
Well, and to that point, last time we spoke, we'd had Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, say that he thought he could have tax reform through in August. You and I talked about that, whether it was possible. Do you still think that's possible?
That'll be a heavy lift. I think that's going to take an enormous. Things would have to really line up well, right. And of course, some of it depends a little bit on how healthcare goes, and whether or not those baseline dollars are available,
right?
And then whether we use reconciliation or not.
Okay.
So I think could be an end of the year exercise. We'll see.
Okay.